As is tradition in big picture events, we don't just want to talk about arts and culture, we want to allow you to experience it, which sometimes is tricky depending on the art, but tonight I think this is going to work really, really well. We will show 3 works of Ting-Jung. We will get impressions of the installations that are an integral part of the works, but there will also be parts of recordings without visual support for you to focus just on the sounds. We are starting now, before the conversation actually kicks off, with the first piece called The Only Thing I Care About You, Whisper. For this piece, Ting-Jung created a papier-mâché adaptation of a wall of speakers on the coast of Kinmen Island, which is part of Taiwan, and which was used to broadcast propaganda towards mainland China. The composition that is played is based on a song by Taiwanese icon Teresa Tang, also known as the eternal queen of Asian pop. Please enjoy the conversation and the sounds.
Within your hand, see the love inside and full. Feel the magic in a touch. When may I just love you so much? You and summer rise, you see all the ways a love can be. Giving my heart to you. Show that love you see is true. You know my heart and how I only care about you. I have always tried to be the one like you. There are chances there you find me for the trying hard to find a way to make it right. So I'm there, would you please don't ever go away? 'Cause I can't live a day without having you with me. Only there would be hard times. Sure we can see the light. Hold my hand and hold me tight. Stand and believe love me is right. It is not an easy road. Each of us will have our love. Really we share it now. We could do it somehow. You know my heart and how I feel in every way. I have always tried to be the best again. There are chances there. You find me for the harmony. Trying hard to find a way to make it right. Know my heart and how I feel chances there.
There are chances
You
there.
find me for the harmony, trying hard to find a way to make it right.
You know my heart and how I feel in every
Heart
way.
and how I only care
I have
about
always tried to be the best
There are
again.
chances there.
You know my heart and how I feel in
Find
every
me for
way.
the
I have always tried to be
trying
the best
hard
again.
to
There are chances
find
there. You
a
find me for the
way to
harmony,
make it
trying hard to find a way to make it right.
So I'm there.
So I'm there.
Would you please?
Could you please?
Don't ever go
Don't
away.
ever go away.
'Cause I can't
'Cause
live
I can't live
a day without having you.
Having you
With me.
with me.
So I'm there. Would you please? Don't ever go away. 'Cause I can't live a day without having you with me. Don't ever go away. 'Cause I can't live a day without having you. 'Cause I can't live a day without having you with me. 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 With me. With
So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ting-Jung Chen, it's my great pleasure to be here and be able to moderate this conversation with you. Maybe to start us off, I would ask you to kindly, Nico did already a bit, but to quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for Asia Society to have me here. Thank you, Simona, as my company. My name is Ting-Jung Chen, Chen Ting-Jung. I'm an artist from Taiwan. My works pays a lot of attention about the tension between different groups led by divisor propaganda ideologies. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, but I will get better. I explore these topics a lot with sound. Sound is a very special material for me and also a very special medium in my works. And sound allows me to explore the diffusion of the borders and to explore the transformation of the identities. And because it's depict the sound, sound depicts the space and time, and it's also connected with our body, our emotions, our memories. It's also depict the transmission of message. In my project, I'm very often discuss about the usage of propaganda and instrument, also as the sonic weapons, and the relations between this this usage and the authorities.
Thank you very much for that. It summarizes it very well. I would maybe remain, of course, with the topic of sound and the first installation or work of art we have seen. Can you describe to us, for those of us who are not experts, what we have seen, and maybe tell us a little bit about the song we have heard?
As you seen in the video, that was my work, and you are the only one I care about. Whisper. This was a work and a sound installation for channel sound installation I developed in 2018 in Kunsthalle Wien. As you see in the videos, you see a giant metal walls, or you see a broadcast wall. And if you come closely, you can see there are 17 speakers which embedded in these metal structures, and you hear this soft, this tender female voice whisper to you, and sometimes their voice occupy the venue. This work, and you are the only one I care about you, is actually very inspired from the propaganda sonic weapons which occurred during the Cold War between Kuomintang, KNT. Taiwan.
How does that work, with sonic weapons?
The sonic weapons is actually sonic weapon is like two. There are two different types of the sonic weapons, I will say it roughly. Like one of the sonic weapons is using the fusic power of the sound wave to attack the passive listeners with to make the physical damage. And the other one is to influence the listener with psychology perceptions and to trying to shape the listeners with to shape their ideologies. Like the sonic weapon I'm talking about in this case is about the psychology, about the mental usage. And in this work, in this sonic weapon between Taiwan or KMT Taiwan and mainland China, that was about a lot about the female voice, like Teresa Deng, the song we've heard in the video. That the song that in the video is actually a recompositing of Teresa Deng's song. I only care about you, 我只在乎你. And I take this song as the inspiration and recompositing and with the counterpoints and change to a dialogue between you and me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's also because Teresa Deng's voice and her appearance was used as the sonic weapons in the time from Kuomintang, Taiwan to attack China.
Right, thank you. So I want to ask you, and continue, of course, on this line, what are the similarities and the differences to the broadcasting wall on Jinmen? But maybe just quickly for the audience, let me just introduce a little bit, give a bit of context on the Beishan broadcasting wall, which is basically a structure that was built in 1967 as a sort of physiological cross-strait warfare instrument directed at mainland China, right? So you basically, as far as I understand it, the materials that were broadcasted as a warfare were the songs, for example, that you just mentioned by Teresa Deng, right? So can you tell me what were the similarities between your work of art and the differences with the original Beishan wall?
I would say actually from appearance, and they look not similar at all. Like the original Beishan broadcast wall is a 3-floor height building which contains only 48 home speakers, huge speakers, in order to allow the sound to be so amplified to the other, to cross over the sea to China. But I do adapted some conceptual design functions into my work, and which means it's about unities, it's about collective, and it's about the modulation, and it's about the usage. And in my work that you may see, maybe you can scan the QR code sometimes, to see the pictures of the work again, and it's made with a different units of the final phonal shape of amplifiers and the cone shapes of the amplifiers. They are for me the different units which build together a collective identity or a collective body, and they cannot stand by themselves, but if they combine to each other, they make a structure and a wall that cannot go through. Also, this unit and conceptual is also I apply to the song. As you hear, the version I created, the song piece, is a lot of lyrics about you and me, between it's emphasized the relationship between you and me. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the song, you can hear a female is a higher vocal line, a deeper vocal line. They intertwine in the space, or they make some dissonance sometimes. Mm-hmm. And in the end, it's really a tension between you and me in acoustic way, and in the end, it's a voice always saying me, me, me. It's how this me can be translated and interpreted.
So, is this you and me representing the relationship between China and Taiwan, or is it me reading too much into it because I'm interested in geopolitics, or is that the way you look at it in your art?
I think this you and me in my work, I would say, is actually a general reflection between different groups, the tension between different groups. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I take this historical event or the historical artifacts from this period, and to use as a metaphorical instance to reflect the situation in today's, especially in the geopolitical way.
Okay, so I think I want to ask you a very quick question before we go into the second work of art, which you just now mentioned, the historical framework. I mean, you're a young artist. You were born actually much later. Well, you have here the framework 5392, because Jinmen was actually kept under martial law for much longer than the rest of Taiwan. They lifted martial law in 87. In Jinmen, they kept it until 92. But still, you were just a small child. What made you choose precisely this time frame work, and do you think it has an interest in the nowadays generation of your peers?
Yes, I think as Simona said, I was born in 1985, so this history was for me is like a history that I'm not really involved, but I only read from the textbooks. And also this sonic warfare between Taiwan and China, or between Kuomintang Taiwan and China, is for the people who grow up in Taiwan island, like a mysterious, like a tale, a tale that we have no idea about it. And that's also the thing why I really want to study into it, to discover what's behind the textbooks and what's behind the official histories. And also, I want to edit some notes to the work that the work was made actually from the metal sheet and the newspaper. They are all like very two-dimensional and simplified panels. And because of the folding techniques and scrolling techniques, and because of the process of making newspaper into papier-mâché, so the two-dimensional, like a very one-side perspective was built into like a huge wall or a huge position that seems like you cannot go through. But if you deconstructed it, it's only like a simple simplified view.
So I will now introduce the second work of art before we watch it. So let's move on to Dislocated Voice. We are going to see a video soon of the installation as it was put up in 2022 at the Digital Arts Center in Taipei. It is a kinetic sound installation based on the sonic memories of the residents of the island of Jinmen, which, as you know, is belonging to Republic of China, Taiwan, but located in proximity of the mainland. That's what makes it so useful for these sounds. They were subjected, the residents of Jinmen, to sonic warfare campaign between the Taiwan government, the Kuomintang government, and China between the framework period that we mentioned before, 53-92. And integrating recordings in your work of art of wind soundscapes from Jinmen, along with a whistled adaptation of the pop song Good Night Song, which was broadcasted as a lullaby regularly every day from Jinmen to China. The artist, of course, Ting-Jung, created an installation that comprises 14 loudspeakers and one directional speaker, as well as three hanging microphones that rotate through the space in response to the movements of the visitors, and they also record the sounds of the space as they move. So we're now going to watch it together. So actually we remain on the same island, on Jinmen, for the second work of art, but this time we focus on people, right? So can you maybe start us off by describing to us what we have just heard and seen?
You saw a part of the documentation of my work, Dislocated Voice. And as you see, the audience have to pass by a gigantic metal vessel or a metal wall, and you enter the venue. It's a very empty venue which you only see the hanging microphone making circling on this empty field, and you hear in the same times a very unsettled and disturbed sound, which pressure from the ceiling down to you, and also a very isolated whistle transcription of the good night song in the venue. And at the same time, like you can also see that it's a white objects and hanging on the microphones, which maybe remind you to as an imprint of the clenched fist, like somebody holding a microphones. Like I would like to imply like the microphone as the power, or like maybe like, but the people who holding the microphone, who is hovering these territoriums, is not in the place. So basically in the venue, you experience a very haunting atmosphere or a disturbing atmosphere, and issue also this microphone it should remind you to absence and of the subjectivity.
Thank you, Ting-Jung. So I want to ask you something really practical. I mean, for this work of art, you did research and field work on Jinmen. Yeah. So what did you ask the locals, and what did they tell you?
It was a very interesting working process for me. Like I started, as you see, I started to work in the first work, and you are the only one I care about. Whisper, and I keeping asking what's actually happening behind this story. So I took this field studies in Jinmen a couple of times and talked to the people. It's very hard. Actually, it's very hard to get into the society there. It's because maybe it's a long-term war, or the military base is. They were. The local people is not so willing to talk to the people from the outside, and if we talk more, then they starting willing to share something. So I asked them about that. What did you hear during the sonic warfare times, and what did you what connect you this how does this sound connect to your memory, and what's your favorite sound from this island, and what's the routine sound that you hear every day? Such questions. And it's very fascinated, but also very frustrated as a researcher that they answer me. I didn't hear anything. It's very, it's like, what is totally kind of destroyed my expectation at one side, but the other side, I think is also that's the true narration from the people who was depicted actually under the attacking from the sonic weapons. They say I didn't hear nothing, I don't hear nothing, and I keeping discovering why the reason of that, and I discovered that because they were so dramatic, traumatic from the bombing attacks, and they were they could not they talking older people, like they were people around 50s to 93 years old. And the older people talking about the bombing attacks and evacuations experience, and younger people talking about how the military training of the Kuomintang sounds like. They cannot, they have been taught not to hear the message from the other side. They have to be taught that they have to keep silence and not to using their sensory in some way. And what they also talk about is about this good night song. The good night song, as Simona told you, like it has been used between 70s to 90s, and it broadcast every day from Jinmen, from Kuomintang, Taiwan's side to China. But it has been actually always, not always, but very often to blown back from the wind back to the island. So that's happened to the only message that really impressed the residents there. So I took actually these interviews, I transformed these interviews into a sound piece. As you heard, I used the good night song, Wan An Qu, from Fei Yuqing, but in a whistling transcriptions, which also remind people on discipline or body regulation or the military orders. And also I collected the soundscapes of the wind, since it was a very important factor of this sonic weapon, and it's also the thing that the sound that taught by the people reminds only on the island. So I collected the soundscapes from the wind, like how they blow through the bunkers and blow through the abandoned house, or how they blow against the gunshot hole.
Maybe as a way of a context, when she's talking about the bombings and how people were traumatized by them, this is because very often we nowadays talk about military strike crisis between China and Taiwan being the Nancy Pelosi incident in 2022. But the first real military strike crisis actually took place, well, 96 with Li Denghui going to China. But before that, in the 50s, which she shows, Ting-Jung so well captures in a work of art. And these were really, of course, taking place with shelling of the island of Jinmen that traumatized the people. So maybe one last question about this. Why are popular songs so important to you? How are you influenced by them?
I indeed applied a pop song, a lot of pop song in my works, or I like to sample about the pop songs, just because I think pop songs, like, they are kind of a quotation of a certain time, a certain period. Like if I talk about, and it's a connect to some kind of a collective memories. Like if I talk about my teenager times, I will think about maybe Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, at what time, and it's also connected to like a social value from Taiwan at times. And the other reason I really like to sample and use pop song in my work is also, I think pop song also connect to personal narration, private depictions and private memories. And these private memories and collective memories, they're somehow not corresponded to each other, and this diffusion I think it make the thing from make the 2D things into 3D, into virtuality.
Thank you very much. I think we have time before we move on to the last work of art for a very last quick question. So the current tensions between China and Taiwan, which seem to be unfortunately increasing rather than relaxing, is that something that you reflect in your work or not at all?
I think I would like to take this because a lot of work of me in taking Taiwanese historical event as inspiration, but I think I'm not only dealing with my work is not only dealing with the Taiwan and China relationship, but for me, I take it's like a metaphorical instance and want people to arouse the further discussion, like to discuss generally between the tension between groups and to discussion how the borders being made. So I won't say that my work is a political statement, and I don't think my work as direct feedback to a situation between Taiwan and China.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you very much. So I think we should move to the final part of our conversation, which is more on a personal level, how you found your own voice artistically, but also, of course, as a woman and as a foreigner to a certain extent. So we're talking about if she's not sitting in the room. This is the name of the work of art. Let me briefly introduce it to you, because we're actually going to discuss it first, and only afterwards, before the Q&A, we'll take a look at the video. But you can always scroll with the PDF that you downloaded before with the Q&A, or QR code, I'm sorry, and take a look at it. Let me introduce it to you. So If She Is Not Sitting in the Room is an 8-channel sound installation work that Ting-Jung developed in 2021 in the Cube project space in Taiwan, which is also Asia Society Switzerland's partner organization for the curator residency this year. The sound installation featured 32 band or partially also patriotic songs sung by female singers. And the audience was invited into a backstage-like immersive site, and they were welcome to interact with the slide boards on the wood wall to listen to the sound that the walls whisper out. So let me ask you a first question on that. For you, in this piece, you have worked with 32 songs by female singers, which, as we said, were banned in Taiwan between the period of 1932 and 1971. Of course, these are a very indicative period spanning 2 epochs. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you chose this period? What's the historical framework for it?
I think that this work, if she's not sitting in the room, for me is actually a work also to explore the transformation of the identity, especially the female identity, but it also mirrors the transformation of the Taiwan identity somehow. From 1932 to 1971, like Taiwan and in 1932, Taiwan was under Japanese colony, and in 1971, Taiwan was under the control of Kuomintang government. So in these 2 different regions, like different songs sung by female has been adapted to different lyrics all the time and to serve different ideology all the time. So that, as Simona said, there are some bandit songs, there are some patriotic songs, but actually it's not like part of them bandit song, part of them patriotic song, but they are like the same song, but under a different time period. They were patriotic or they were bandit. Mm-hmm. So I want to kind of explore the transformation of identity through these materials.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, I see. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, because these 2 eras were quite informative for the creation of a Taiwanese identity, of course, until 1945, World War II, when Japan lost. Taiwan was under colonial rule by the Japanese, and then, of course, there was the gloriously returned, as the Kuomintang propaganda says, to China. So let me ask you something about, again, the female voice. I mean, you actually have worked in other work of arts with these female voices or siren songs. Can you maybe tell us what is a siren song and what is special to you about the female voice as an instrument?
I think for me, in my work, I really pay a lot of attention about female song because I think I'm female. And also I'm curious about how a female voice has been used as propaganda instrument, especially under sonic weapons and usage. Since like Greek mythology, the siren, the female voice has been associated with siren, the sea monster, to mislead the direction of the sailors, and the sailors have to like tie themselves on the mast and put wax on the ear to avoid the attack from the female. Since then, like maybe because the sound quality of the female voice is higher frequency as a male voice, it's easier to make people to paying attention or to make people get distracted somehow. So it's being used in different propaganda usage. And also, like in a female voice, there are a lot of projections about the female image. It's like the songs I applied in this work. The female voice are always singing about like they are like maybe a role of the mother, a role of the lover who is waiting for the son or their family to come back, or so they serve kind of the patriarchal ideologies, and also they have been objectified into different objects, in like flowers or the shadows and things like that. I really want to kind of use these materials and deconstruct the identity of the female, and to understand why. So to explore where's the she, where's the real person.
Mm-hmm. Right. So on the wood panels, which you haven't seen yet, but I guess you can see it on the PDF. There are actually Morse code writings of some of the lyrics of the songs. I would like to ask you, first of all, what do they say and why precisely Morse code?
The Morse code is actually the transmission of the lyrics from all of these lyrics of the song. They are telling some kind of image, like I shared before, is about I'm waiting for you, or the flower is going to die and the sun has to come back. Such raw image of the different genders. And on these two panels, if you see your PDF, you can see like they are doubled panels on the wood structure. So the audience is welcome to interact with some sculptures to slide the panels. So you can change the sound and change the visual effect, the visual appearance in the structure, in the sculpture. And these two panels, they are always like similar lyrics, but from different songs. Yeah. And the reason I want to integrate Morse code to this work is about the Morse code usually related to military usage or like a secret language. And it's a secret language that really being simplified into a sonic pattern or into a visual pattern. If you are, you know a little bit about the Morse code, it's always like rhythms. It's how a word pronounced. Yeah.
So I think it's also, I would like to talk a little bit about you, just before we move into watching the third work of art. I mean, actually, it's interesting to know that you studied philosophy first. So how did you actually, find your artistic voice?
I think it's interesting that that I. It's just I study philosophy, and I recognize that I'm not very good at to express my thought in a very how do you say? It's to build a very closed system to build in arguments, because I think it's a lot of things next to these arguments. It's like your sensory has to be concluded and included, and your different kind of thinking should be concluded. And so, and also because I play music, I play bands, I doing sound engineers, part-time job in the live house, and also I like theater. I appreciate the context of different history, story, and things like that. So all of this make me thinking, oh, maybe I should express myself, my thinking through the other way. So I'm choosing to making art.
I see. So it was fair to say that you were inclined artistically even before you chose philosophy, right? And that you just grew on your passion. Last question before we watch video number 3. I mean, you moved to Germany and also Austria. Does that move to Europe have had any sort of influence on your work?
I really think so, and also because I moved to Europe since beginning to study art. So study art and moving to Europe or living experience in Europe are really combined to each others. And also, actually, now it's like my 14th years in Europe, living in Europe, and it's also give me, it impacts me a lot to have different living experience and different distance to reflect my home country and to see or to perceive the situation now in Europe, like the right-wing populism or the xenophobia situations and so on. So I very appreciate that I'm always kind of in the situation of in between. That it makes more distance and it's alien the usual things and make the reflection more possible.
More balanced, yes, absolutely. So I would suggest that before we continue conversation and open to the Q&A, we watch video number 3 together now.
Yeah.